going upward. Gasoline has crept up over the last few months again. We also are looking to use less of our cash reserves. That's our rainy day fund that we often speak of. That's one of a good financial management practices to keep reserves so that if there is a crisis or a major employer or taxpayer leaves town, we have money to be able to draw down on in those emergencies.
Just like our household budget.
Absolutely.
You put something away for that car that breaks down, or...
You have the same challenges we do, don't
same
we?
challenges,
right.
Peter.
Yes. So we have all those different dynamics happening, and so we are seeing a 2.5% proposed 2.5% tax increase. And again, I want to emphasize that that is without revaluation, and revaluation impacts will be unique to each and every household across the town.
You mentioned over the past 5 years the no increase. What was the total over those past years increase?
The total on an annual basis was basically 0.1%. So basically over the 5-year period, very minimal increases. There's only 1 year in which the taxes actually increased.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Betty, you were able to offer a budget for the schools that had no increase from last year. Mm-hmm. You know, are we as a community giving up things that are important? And you touched on that a little bit, but could you delve into that a little bit deeper? You know, what did we give up to keep that tax increase low?
Well, first of all, I again want to underscore that we recognize the challenges that were facing the town in the creating of the budget. It wasn't as if we desired to come in with 0%, but we knew that it was important to come in as low as we possibly could without jeopardizing programs. The good news with respect to the budget is that there have been no elimination of programs, unlike much of what we read in the newspapers. So, you know, our core program will be able to remain intact. The interventions that we're providing students, our challenge gifted program for the gifted, our arts, our music, our after-school enrichment programs at the middle school, extracurriculars. We, fortunately, with the support of the board and the town, are being able to hold on to those. Having said that, we are losing a significant number of members of our community, again, because of the reductions. If you remember last year, we had about 37 positions that were eliminated in the school system, and this year, you know, we have close to 20 positions that are being eliminated in the school system. So that's very difficult. The other thing is that we know that we'll see some increase in class size, and lastly, there's going to be some slowing down of improvement efforts just simply because we don't have the funding to support some of that. Mm-hmm. So that's the immediate impact. The thing that did help us, in all honesty, was with the declining enrollment. You know, we were able to, some of the reduction is tied directly to that. However, that also meant the loss of positions, which really is then that human factor, which is the most difficult. Right.
Well, and you touched on my next question, the declining enrollment, mm-hmm. and we've been hearing something. Is that something that we should be concerned about?
If your question is, should we be concerned about it because is there something wrong with Windsor, the answer is no. The truth of the matter is that enrollment is declining across the state, across New England, and quite frankly across the nation. There are fewer babies that are being born in this country, and clearly fewer babies being born in Connecticut and in Windsor. And so the school-aged population is declining. So, for example, in the Windsor Public Schools since 2004, we've declined nearly 600 students. However, some people might ask the question, well, does that mean that there are more kids who are being homeschooled? Does it mean more kids are going to private schools? We actually did an analysis of that, and our homeschooling population, which is approximately under 1%, it has remained the same for the last 10 years. And the state determines annually what's the percentage of school-age children that's captured by the public schools. We capture between 86 and 87% of students, school-age students in Windsor. That has remained constant for 10 years. So the enrollment is purely mirroring what is happening across the state and New England. Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Betty. Peter, keeping our roads is important not only to those of us that live here in Windsor, but to people that are coming in to visit and to work here on a daily basis, which is quite substantial. Are we doing all that we can to support that infrastructure?
That's an excellent question, Jane. It's a challenge. We have over 130 miles of roads that the town's responsible for. We have 132 miles of road, to be exact, that we're responsible for. And with the increasing cost of asphalt over the last few years, it's really not allowed us to keep up with where we would like to be in terms of our reinvestment. Just by way of information, about 15 years ago, in 1996, the town had enough funds to be able to repave about 9.5 miles of roadway. This current fiscal year, we only have enough funds to do about 1.5 miles. And that's two factors. One is the unit cost of asphalt has increased substantially in 15 years, but also the fact that we have not been able to afford using our own local tax dollars to continue at the same pace that we were 10 or 15 years ago. Currently, this proposed budget proposes to increase the amount of money that we're putting into our road system. And that would allow us to move from 1.5 miles of paving to just over 3 miles. Still probably not where we need to be, but certainly would help us, if you will, get, I won't say ahead of the curve, but certainly catch up from
At least the most damaged roads, et cetera.
the most damaged road, and our focus would be to do the roads that serve our neighborhoods. For example, Manianic Avenue, which is a very long road in the southern part of town that serves tremendous number of residential streets.
That's probably 3 miles in itself.
Yes,
repairing that one road.
Yeah, and so we would do that in a section. We have a scientific analysis that we do that each year that assesses the condition of the roads, and so then we try to do that, apply our resources based upon that assessment as well.
Thank you, Peter. Also looking back, the question that gets asked quite often is, have we done everything to reduce the cost of town government? I'm sure you get asked quite often.
Yes, quite often. And not unlike you mentioned earlier, our own household budgets, we're always looking to trim back and where we might be able to save some monies. And certainly I can touch on it, and Dr. Feser can add to it as well. But in terms of the general government portion of the budget, over the last 4 or 5 years, we've done a tremendous amount of things. We've also cut positions. This current fiscal year, we eliminated five positions, general government. Majority of our employees this current year are not taking a wage increase. We've shifted costs on health insurance over to the employee. So the employees paying a larger portion rather of their health insurance. We've also done regional purchasing efforts to reduce our cost. We buy all of our sand and salt for our roads for storm control through a regional purchasing co-op. We buy our health prescriptions through a regional coalition. We've also done a variety of energy retrofits, energy efficiency retrofits in all of our buildings. So we certainly have done a lot of work. We've also refinanced, in the last 2 years, we've refinanced our existing debt to the tune of savings approximately $2 million over the next 10 or 12 years. So that's what we've done on the general government side, and I know Dr. Feser certainly has.
Before we go over to
working.
Betty, I have one comment, because I heard that the town also encourages its employees to come through with cost-saving measures when they see something within their own department to bring ideas like that forth.
Yes,